How did you get into, first off, the mortgage industry as a whole? I know you had a progression, but talk a little bit about your journey into mortgage and kind of how we got to today.
Yeah. Well, it's not very exciting, just like it isn't for anyone, right? I didn't grow up wishing and hoping to be in the mortgage industry. But I was in college and I got a job working at a front desk, and I'm from Seattle originally. Sorry, got to back up. From Seattle, born and raised in Seattle. So I got a job working as a receptionist at a mortgage company, and so I loved it right away. I just loved that it was, fast paced and always changing, and I wanted to learn more. And so I was up at the front, like studying for my NMLS test, and started processing files, and then got my license. And this was in a pretty short amount of time. And then probably I loved that. 3 years in, I had another MI rep come in. She was making call in our office, and she was looking for a junior rep and said, "You would be great at this. Why don't you come work with me?" So I, heard her out, listened to the job, and I thought that it would be fun. I didn't want to deal with excise tax and people being homeless. You guys deal with the hard stuff. The mortgage side of it's a little more stressful, I think, than the insurance side of it. So I thought, well, we'll give it a go. And yeah, I've been there since, 2014. So it's been a while.
So same company. You went to work at Essent as a junior rep.
Yep.
And how did you get to Sacramento?
Yeah. So I took the job in Seattle, and I was her junior rep, and I covered, most of Western Washington, some of Eastern Washington. And then I loved it. And then this territory had opened up. I was a junior, obviously. So this territory in Sacramento opened up as having my own territory. And so they, Essent hadn't relocated anyone. And I said, I want to do that. And they said, all right, interview. And so we did that. And then we moved here like 6 months before COVID, my husband and our 3 children. My daughter was only 10 months at the time. And I don't even remember the boys' ages because it wasn't relevant. But anyway, she was a baby, and then COVID hit. So we were only here for like 6 months before COVID happened. So it was really hard. It was a really hard transition period.
When I think of you, I think that you've been here longer than that. That's shocking to me that you've only been here for, 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years. Mm-hmm.
And that 1 year kind of omitted from being able to truly socialize, right?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. I think, I covered APM events before that. So when I was in Seattle, we'd work your symposiums. And
maybe that's...
So I've been around, the APM peeps for 10 plus years. So maybe that's why. Maybe. I don't know.
That's from a transition standpoint, anytime you move and get integrated, obviously that was a very weird time trying to operate and function. When you first moved into like being in the MI space and kind of what was that transition like, as far as just, it's the same industry, but obviously it's just a very different function. How was that transition to begin with that kind of has kept you here for over a decade now?
Yeah, I think my generation kind of gets a bad rap for jumping around, not staying anywhere. And I think, for me, I've always tried to get better at my craft. And I know that even today, I'm better than I was probably 10 years ago, but I still haven't perfected it. And so I think, it's just little changes. And I would say, after COVID, my job changed, as I'm sure Julie can attest. Everyone's jobs changed, but what I was doing primarily was calling on loan officers before COVID. And now it's kind of shifted where, we're having more conversations at the top of the house and bringing value at the top down, as opposed to, I was in 10 offices a day before COVID, which, now there's a lot of people that aren't in their offices. So yeah, that I've had to kind of change and
evolve the sales approach. How have you, using that, talking about the changes in terms of who's in the office and who's not? We talk a lot about how that's, fundamentally changed the way that we have to use, obviously, social media and engaging, creating, whether it's video call interactions and setting up like webinars and things like that. And like you said, going to the top of the house. How have you changed your approach, or what has that done for your, like what you do with social media to, to create those relationships that, is essentially the only way you're going to get in front of certain people?
Yeah. And that's a really good point. There are, I think really some days that's the only way to get in touch with people is social media. And we're a little more like restricted on what we can do. So I don't market myself on Instagram or Facebook from a business perspective, just a personal one. But a huge tool for me has been LinkedIn and Sales Navigator, which is, the business side of LinkedIn, where you can, drill down into a business and see who the decision makers are. And you can get more kind of granular within the organization. And then video. I think people love, I think when we do it, I know for me, it seems silly and I think I'm not doing it right, or I sound funny, or I look weird, or whatever it is, but people love it because then they feel like they get to know you. And so, yeah, we have a video system we use, and I know there's free ones out there too, but I think that kind of stuff is great. And then the last thing I would say is like training, offering training that's useful to the people that are in your sphere, so whether it's operational training, or even like you're talking about social media. I think anything that you can give people that is different and of value, they're going to want to do it because they're trying to get better themselves, I think.